Hi, and welcome back to the Maybe I Can podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Weiss, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to talk about taking action today because so many of us get stuck in our heads and we have these great ideas and these great dreams and plans. But if we never take action, which a lot of us don't, because as Harry Truman said, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. And a lot of us are waiting for it to be perfect or to know all the steps. And so we are just paralyzed. That's not what we want. So I've got 5 hints to help you take action. But before we dive in, I want to share with you something I'm very excited about. I am launching a small group coaching program for women called Sprinkle Forward. It's going to be an 8-week session that starts July 8th. We're going to meet every week except 1 week in July when I'm on vacation. I don't know that exact date. And right now until June 8th, the wait list is open. By signing up for the wait list, all you're doing is giving yourself an opportunity to get preferential treatment on getting into the program because I am limiting the number of participants. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that you are going to be offered quite a sizable discount. Now, signing up for the wait list doesn't commit you to anything. It doesn't mean that you're saying you're 100% going to join. It's just giving you those opportunities. So I'm really not sure why anyone wouldn't sign up for the wait list unless you're listening to this after June 8th. And in that case, I'm sorry. And hopefully the next time you'll listen and get on the wait list. But if you're listening and it's not June 8th, go over to my website right now, DebbieRWeiss.com. There'll be a little banner across the top and a pop-up. It'll give you all the information. You just put in your name and your email, and you're on the wait list. Okay. With that, let's dive in. 5 hints to help you take action. All right. First hint, my favorite actually, to help you take action is join or create an accountability group. Accountability it increases your follow through when you show up, when you know that someone's counting on you. And the reason that I say this is my favorite is because anytime I have had real success, it has been because I was part of an accountability group. Whether that was losing weight with Weight Watchers back in the day where you actually had to show up in person, got to know the other people in my Weight Watchers group. And if I wasn't there, they'd reach out and say, "Where were you?" And they'd cheer me on if I was successful. And they'd give me a hug if I wasn't, because they could relate to everything that I was feeling because we joined this group for the same reason. It also helped in business. One of the first things I ever did was join a mastermind. And each week you had to show up kind of like doing the tasks. And you would meet in small groups and share what you did, what you learned. And then I got to know the people, and same kind of thing. They would hold me accountable. In order to write my first book, actually my second one too, I was still part of that same small group of first-time authors who were there to support one another. And when you showed up and you didn't do what you said you were going to do the week before, you didn't do the challenge or the homework, it wasn't like anyone berated you because you know what? They were going to wind up doing the same thing next time. It wasn't that. It was just that it's this little extra nudge that you think to yourself, oh, crap, they're going to ask me if I wrote 3,000 words this week. It's not really like a threat. It's almost like, yeah, it would be very nice if we could all hold ourselves accountable. And I think for certain things we can. But this just is an extra level. And sure, you could be that person who joins the group and then pays the money and doesn't show up, who's losing there, right? Yeah, that's always an option. You could be a dropout, but if you spend the money, if you spend the time, if you are feel like joining something, it's for a reason, right? Because you know that this is going to help move you towards your goal. This is why I created the Sprinkle Forward group. Now, I've already told you about it 2 seconds ago, but I'm just telling you that right now I am a part of a small business mastermind. Actually, I think I've been a part of the same group maybe since October. And I look forward to that group. We are all supporting each other. We have an app where we can talk during the week and tell each other what's going on, where we're struggling, celebrate our successes. And then I look forward to seeing those people. And I look forward to what the leader is going to teach us and how that will help catapult me to, the next level and all the things. I found that when I don't have that, when I'm not part of a group, it's almost like I feel lost out here on this little island of my own. And it's just not the same. It's not the same as sharing the journey with someone and all having the same common goal and the same struggles. And obviously not exactly, but, in the general area. Now, maybe that's not you, right? My friends told me I'm a groupaholic. I don't know if that's a word in the dictionary or they made it up. I'm a groupaholic. Maybe you're not. Okay, so then that brings me to hit number 2. Same idea. Find a mentor or a coach. I also, when I first, several years ago, kind of broke out into my own business outside of my insurance agency, I hired a coach. 1, because I had no idea what I was doing. And what's the best way to 10x your growth is by hiring someone who's already walked the walk. And it's the same thing in the accountability groups, right? That's why you're joining the group, that particular leaders group, because they've been where you are now. And you want to know, well, heck, what did you do to get yourself from point A to point B? And that's the idea of the mentor or the coach, where you work with them one-on-one. And it's still that same accountability, whether you're showing up every week and meeting online or in person or, every other week, whatever it is, if you're just messaging back and forth, if they're sending you check-ins, whatever it is, it's another level. It's someone else that you're sharing what your goals are. You're sharing what actions you're going to take. And they're going to come back to you and say, well, how did it go when you did A, B, and C? And if you didn't do it, you're going to have to tell them so. And having that level of accountability, it creates a little more sense of urgency within each of us. It's human nature, right? So, number 1, join an accountability group. 2, you don't like groups, hire a coach or a mentor. 3, celebrate your small micro wins. I'm going to use my writing a book as an example. Am I going to wait until I wrote the whole book to say, yay, look at me, I wrote a book? No way. Every day when I was writing that book, I would schedule in a time for me to write, whether it was 10 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever it was. And every day that I stuck to that schedule, I pat myself on the back because you know what? I showed up and I did the work. And some days I would sit there and stare at the screen, my fingers on the keyboard, not knowing what to write. But I showed up and eventually something would come to me. And a lot of times there were days where what came was not the best, but now I knew what I didn't want to. And the next day or the day after, I could change it. But it was celebrating those small wins. Just like when I was doing Weight Watchers, I celebrated every week that I actually showed up for the meeting, whether or not I lost weight, because I was not and am not a steady loser. I'm a slow loser. I'm what they call a turtle. It takes me a really long time. So most weeks, honestly, I did not lose weight, but I showed up and that was a win. And if you wait until you hit that big goal to celebrate, you probably won't make it because it takes a long time to reach that big goal. So we deserve to give ourselves credit for those small steps that we're taking along the way. Okay, number 4, similar to number 2, tell someone your next step. So you don't want to hire a mentor. You don't want to hire a coach. Tell someone else. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Saying it out loud, it creates clarity and commitment. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard this story before, but if so, I'm going to tell it again. I used to smoke cigarettes. Yep. Many, many years ago, just when it was starting to become common knowledge that smoking was not good for you. And I loved smoking cigarettes. And in my mid-20s, I was like up to about a pack and a half a day. And it was just around then that it was like, oh no, I know eventually I'm going to have to quit, but not now, because I didn't want to, because I loved it. And I was young and I felt invincible. And then I got mono. And I got sick so badly that I actually had to go out on disability for my job. And I remember I was sitting on the edge of my bed smoking a cigarette because, yes, back in those days, we all smoked in the house. It was ridiculous to think you couldn't smoke in your own house. And I was smoking a cigarette and I was hacking up a lung and thinking to myself, I'm not even enjoying this. What am I doing? So I said, okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to play a little game with myself. I'm not going to smoke until 1 this afternoon, 1 p.m. And 1 p.m. rolled around and I had no desire to smoke a cigarette. So I said, great, let's see how long I can extend it. And then I set a new goal for 5 p.m. and I made it that long. And then I made it until bedtime. And the next thing you know, I woke up the next morning and it had been almost 24 hours since I smoked a cigarette. 3 days later, I still had not smoked a cigarette. And then I started to think about it. I will never, let's hope that I will never have another head start like this, that it was kind of easy because I was feeling so crummy. I know I eventually have to quit. Maybe I should take advantage of this head start and just quit. And I thought, nah, I don't know about that because once I start feeling better, I'm really going to want to smoke. So nope, I told no one. No one had any idea that I hadn't had a cigarette in 3 days. I kept it to myself because I was not yet committed. And I knew that if I put it out there, everything would change. It wasn't until day 6 days I hadn't smoked. And I said, that's it. I'm doing it. And I started. I told my mother and I told my brother and I, started telling my friends and my coworkers and whatnot. And of course, once I felt better, it did get really difficult. But I knew I had already come so far. I just couldn't turn back. And that was 35 years ago. 35 years ago, I have never had another drag of another cigarette because I know that if I did, even though it probably make me feel sick and give me a headache, I might want to start smoking again because I did love it. It wasn't until I said it out loud that I knew. it was going to happen. Hint number 5, start small. You don't have to begin. You don't have to know all the steps. That is why so many of us get frozen. You have a dream. You have a goal. You don't know all the steps to get there. And let me tell you something. Even if you think you know all the steps to get there, I can guarantee that something will happen that will change that journey. But that journey won't happen unless you actually step off the curb. It's not, you've got to start. You've got to start somewhere. And like I said, I went to Weight Watchers, and when I went back the last time where I lost a lot of weight and have now maintained it, instead of going there and saying, every week I'm going to lose 1 to 2 pounds, as, this is your weekly average, whatever the heck they say in their little disclaimer, I'm not even going to try to lose weight, because I've tried that before. And I've been successful, but I haven't been successful keeping it off. So all I'm going to do to start, I'm just going to show up for the meeting every week. I'm not going to track my food. I'm not going to exercise. I'm not going to worry about drinking water. None of the things. I'm just going to do one small thing, which is show up every week. Excuse me. And that's what I did. Whether you want to clean out your closet, start with one section. Start with 5 pieces of clothing you look at. Because I'm telling you, once you do that, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. You look at 5 more pieces, and then you look at the clock, and it's only 10 minutes has gone by, and look at how much better you feel, because now you've looked at 10 pieces of clothing, and you've made the decision, keep, garbage, donate. And what felt like a monumental task no longer does. And it fuels you on, right? I can't say enough about starting small, because usually the big goal just feels too overwhelming, and that's when we get frozen. All right, so to recap, 5 things to do to help you start taking action. Even if you don't feel ready, I want you to be sitting there thinking, where do I need to make a change? What is a current goal of mine that I haven't really been moving towards? And think, which one of these are you going to use? Join or create an accountability group. Find a mentor or a coach. Celebrate micro wins. Tell someone your next step, or start small. And you know what? As I say it, it's not one or the other. Most likely, it's a combination of some of them. Every step counts. And don't forget, one last reminder, you only have until June 8th to join the wait list for the Sprinkle Forward group coaching journey. Okay? There's no pressure, no commitment. Do it so that you get the discount and you get in if you decide to join. Okay? I want you to DM me at debbie.r.weiss and let me know, what is one small action that you're going to take today. You are more than ready. You might not think, but you are more than ready to take action. So let's go, one sprinkle at a time. You've got this. See you next week.